had mentioned Jordan Peterson earlier, as well as the as well as the gender LGBT things. That kind of goes to his rise outside of maybe psychological circles, psychiatrist circles, university professors. Do you want to tell me a little bit about how maybe you discovered Jordan Peterson and what? Because I think when we first spoke, when you were writing for us, you said he was one of your main inspirations. He was someone you liked listening to. So you want to tell me a little bit about how you found him and what sort of things you've learned from him?
Yeah, definitely. So before I wasn't really that much into politics. Before November 2021, I didn't really talk about politics that much. I didn't really look at it that much. Mass mandates for me were just something we had to deal with, and I didn't really care about that and everything else. But I still had some conservative ideas, everything related to gender dysphoria. I had some conservative thoughts regarding that, but I never really explored them. So I just stumbled across a YouTube video of him after doing his free speech rally on a college campus, well, at U of T in Toronto. And I saw that video of him, and I was like, yeah, this does make a lot of sense. And I saw the people protesting, and I saw that those people, their arguments didn't make any sense at all, and they weren't really arguing at all. They were just yelling and shouting everything, which is the main tactic from the left nowadays. So I saw his points, and I saw, yeah, he's making some good points, some interesting points, and he was right basically. So then I just continued to research him on YouTube and listen to his podcasts and everything that he's doing. Read some of his work. That just finished reading some of his books. Also, then I looked at what he does when it comes to self improvement and everything. So I'd say that's how I learned more about him.
And this relates to gender too. So one thing you'll hear if you read, hit pieces about Jordan Peterson is, well, he appeals to men and toxic masculinity, and he appeals to, young angry men. You can probably find that. The way I look at it is, if you're going to talk about toxic masculinity, I don't really think that's a widespread problem. But let's say you're going to talk about men underachieving, whether it's because the school system is biased against men, or you want to talk about genetically men are more predisposed to fight, which I think if we look at the history of there's a benefit to I mean the men have to go out and hunt, right, and they have to fight the wars. But what do you think as far as, okay, and then they find someone like Jordan Peterson, who I think he's a great guy. I think he's really smart. I don't necessarily think he came up with anything revolutionary. I think he just explains it in a really easy to understand format. I mean, the advice he gives is, be responsible, be a respectable person, be polite, be honest. And so it seems to me, and maybe you can tell me if you agree, disagree, or why you think this might be, that Jordan Peterson should be thanked and hailed by these critics of toxic masculinity, because he's helping men become more responsible. I mean, we can talk about the men who the fatherless rates in really black, white, Hispanic homes. Um, you know, I might be for other ethnicities too. We could talk about men who should be working right now, healthy men who aren't going to work. And it seems like he is like an antidote to that type of problem among men. I'll just leave it at that, and I'd love to hear your thoughts as
Well,
a young
I
man on
definitely,
college
yeah, I
campus.
definitely
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that right now our culture is culling men, with the victimhood mentality and everything. Personally, I grew up for a big part of my childhood without a father. Um, so I learned what it was to struggle, what it was to put the extra effort to go above and beyond expectations and become the best version of yourself. But it's something extremely hard to do, right? And I had to go through that, through those difficulties. But I think right now that's an issue that people don't necessarily have to go through. I'm not saying that people should live without a father at all. That's not what I'm saying. I know that's one of the main things. If you want to be successful, you need to have biological parents, and you need to go to schools and graduate and get a job and get married before having kids. But I'd say people right now, they're not trained to suffer, they're not trained to work hard. Everything is handed to them. They go to universities. As long as you have left leaning biases, and as long as you're a left leaning person, everything is basically going to be handed to you. So I think people right now aren't thought to work hard, and I think that's a problem. And I think that's something that Jordan Peterson exposes in his works and in his book. You need to remember also, Jordan Peterson is not a politician. He doesn't like politics. He stated many times that he actually doesn't like politics. His main discipline is psychology. It's helping people, right? And I think just to go beyond that, the media showed him as a politician, someone who's into politics a lot and who isn't helping people. But that's not what he does. Basically, the first thing that he does is helping people. That's his main discipline. So no, I do think that he brings the advice and ideas of self improvement in a different manner, and I think everyone who reads his books is going to become a better person if they apply what they see. So definitely, his books would help against toxic masculinity and would help men become more responsible and become better human beings for their wives, for their children, for their companies. And I think everything that he does is positive.